So the convention is about contemplation and thinking, and the iCARI confirmation is about various opinions and various information and about expert opinions. And it's not about the reasons, but about the ways. And one of the manners of the ways will be also presented by the Vice President of iCARI, Rapan, and I know about him that he is a data person. And I'm not saying that he's not emotional. Maria could talk, his wife. And he will talk about us shooting ourselves in the leg by carbon neutral ballot. I'm very interested in what does it mean, Janko, because we have shooting in the DNA in Slovakia. So the floor is yours, and I believe that the topic will be as interesting as the previous one. Thank you very much. I will try to wake you up a bit and to tell you that today you will hear and see many not so optimistic information, not so much optimistic information, because this is not a convention about how to get more followers on LinkedIn. This convention is about us talking about things as they are, so that we understand them as they are, and this is a reason why to talk openly about a thing. I'm very happy that Leon came with a picture of his 9-year-old daughter. We spent evening yesterday talking about interesting things. We need to transfer these things to the level of our kids' education. Who knows that climate change as such as a topic is completely introduced into the structure of the education system of our elementary schools? And the answer is, I would like to see the documents, because we had a look at it and it's very poor. We are talking about someone falling from the horse in 16th century, but we are not learning about these things, and we need to start doing it in order to understand what's happening. My speech, and now he's asking about the mic. Okay, everybody hears me and everybody sees me. We need to start talking about the fact that we need to start using the usable data, because those that we are using nowadays, as Leon showed from the used models, are insufficient, because our models are fed by historical data and not by what's happening currently. And we need to define which data are useful, because us as a country, as a European Union country, we are creating important strategic goals. And one of these goals for the European Union is the achievement of climate neutrality. Let's see what this goal is based on. I will use the newest data from European Research Center, publishing one of the most important database, EDGAR, that are part of IPCC reports. So we will talk about the newest or latest data, and not about the data from 2021. On this graph or chart that I will show you, on y-axis you will see the emissions in megatons, and I will start with 1990, and I will use this similarly to strategic documents of European Union that position themselves vis-a-vis the European 27 countries. So in 2020, the European Union started in January when a big plan, which is a Green Deal, and we know that it exists, but this is all that we know. And if I asked about the ESG specialists how many documents this treaty has, and I've already done it a couple of times. I got various answers because it's a quantum, it's a huge amount of documents. So in 2020, the Green Deal has been assigned, and it has two strategic objectives: to keep the EU as one of the most important economies in the world, and also to lower the CO2 emissions. This positioning of Green Deal in 2020, as it was, targeted the lowering emissions up to 2030 as opposed to 1990 by 50%. That was commitment or the objective of the Green Deal, and the politicians decided to put it in practice. In 2020, our emissions were on this level. But the Green Deal wasn't created in 2020. It was prepared for 3 years. So in 2020, we were around 3,000 megatons of emissions. And last year, we were on the level of 30% reduction of the emissions compared to 1990. You can see that it will not be easy to meet the goal. If we decided to calculate the mean or the median, and if we can transfer this median in the next 5-year period, we can only lower the emissions by another percentage. So meaning that we are not able to achieve this goal by 2030. I've been talking together with other researchers and scientists for already a couple of years, and nobody heard us. And now the European Union created a new plan reflecting on this previous plan, and they recognize that the plans are made good strategically only if they are achievable. So if not all plans are good. So European Commission came with a new plan in 2025, and they came with a more realistic plan, so to lower them by 90%. Compared to 1992 or up until 2040. Please open your calculators. Do you understand that? I don't. So they came up with this plan, and if you look at it, we would need to lower the emissions every year by 167 megaton. And this plan should be also approved by the ministries of member countries, and I still believe that they will reevaluate it. So to be clear, we need to lower emissions, but we need to also set realistic goals, because this is also connected to the European Union economy. If the European Union economy doesn't work, we will not have sources, and even we will not have funds. We will not even have the horizon funding the research. So we need to create realistic plans. And of course, the climate neutrality should be achieved by 2050. Well, if we are to achieve the plan in 2040 created by the European Commission, it would mean that from 2024 to 2040 we would need to lower emissions by 2,678 megaton. This is a huge number, and just imagine that we manage that. Imagine that the wings grow and we will flow across the ocean. But the problem is in the red number of 3,951 megatons that grow, and they grow from BRIC community, which is Brazil, Russia, China, and so on. And the European Union wants to lower the emissions by over 2,000 megaton, and BRIC community only in the last 5-year period added over 3,000 megaton of CO2 emissions. You don't need to study rocket science to understand that. If you look at the performance of this community when it comes to emissions, they have beautiful curve that even Elon Musk launching his rockets into universe wouldn't be ashamed of. When it comes to distribution of emissions, based on the data by EDGAR from September 2025, here you have beautiful beer glass, and let's have a look how much of the emissions are created by the US. It's 11%. You can see that the trend is neutral and slowly decreasing. European Union creates 6% of the volume, and the trend is also decreasing, even more decreasing than the US. Over 52 emissions are created by BRIC region, 10 countries of the world. The rest, the remaining 100 countries of the world, they contribute with 31%. And we are talking about the emissions in 2024 only. Is this comprehensible? Okay, let's move on. Physics cannot be cheated, because many people say that, oh, we need to lower the emissions, we need to be example in the European Union to other countries. Yes, we need to do that, but not for the price of us ending on a zero. You can see how much emissions are produced by European Union and how much by the BRICS community. You can see the example of, you can see the beautiful example of the transfer of atmospheric mass. When someone is just dripping and when someone is really transferring the mass of emissions, where we should start doing the changes, with the drops or with the mass contribution. We should start talking about it openly. People say, okay, it doesn't matter, let's not look at China or India because they are poor. And it's not the problem, but it is a problem, because looking at global atmosphere, and this is a real demonstration from NASA, Orbiting Carbon Observatory, how the CO2 is mixing in atmosphere during the year. I really recommend that you watch the video. This is the question, doesn't it really matter who releases much? This is how much into the atmosphere. Does it matter or doesn't it matter? And here is a beautiful example. Fit for 55 performance, meaning lowering the emissions by 2013 by European Union. Blue lines are a part of the graph that you're going to see in a moment as a whole. And on the left, you can see on the left the countries that are already on the level of 55% of meeting the plan. You can see Cyprus, Greece, and so on. Sweden got to minus 35%. They are not even close. These countries with high probability they are not going to meet the plan with their performance. And then we have the remaining countries of the EU 27, and you can also see that there is Slovakia and Czech Republic, and it's very probable that they will achieve this minus 55% of plan by 2030, and some countries already achieved it. And remember, Spain, Italy, France, Poland, and Germany, they are the countries that are the biggest contributors, and you can see those with the red exclamation mark up. They will probably not meet the plan. And another perspective is, I'm constantly reading on the media that we need to focus on renewable sources because they will save us. Here you have the share of renewables on the electricity and heat production, and the Eurostat share, so that we can compare. And the share shows that there are leaders with huge renewables share. You can see a couple of countries that have more than 50%. Then you can also 17% where Slovakia is. Having looked at it, I don't see the correlation between the number of renewables share and the better meeting of the plan. I'm not sure who writes it in the media, because the data we are talking about and we keep talking about, the data do not confirm that, and we have a problem. Okay, Slovakia. I keep reading that Slovakia needs to raise the renewables share, otherwise we will not meet our commitments towards European Union as to lowering the emissions, but we are meeting the goals with the lowest, one of the lowest shares, or low share. So it's not about that. And what do we want to be neutral against? Against the atmosphere or economy? Where is the neutrality we should talk about? So let's see. This is the share of the most significant emission sources. You see that transportation, buildings, energy, and others. And when we talk about transport, it's not just personal vehicles, but there is also aviation, tractors, and so on. Then we have power industry, meaning the energy production, including the industrial power production. 42 days, BRIC community needs 42 days to create so much emissions as the European Union in 1 year. 42 days to create the level of emissions that the European Union needs or creates in 1 year. So let's see who are the biggest contributors to CO2 emissions in the European Union. Remember, Germany will always be the first one. And then we have France, and the orange one is Italy. These three countries contribute 45%. If we have a hole in our ship, are we going to fix the big hole, or are we going to fix the four small ones? Do you know Pareto rule, 80 to 20? We should start using it, because in the EU we are using the system of common guilt or common blame. No, we should start talking about how we are going to fix it. This is important. When we look at the European Union contribution, you can see that European Union contributes 9% and BRICS contributes 27%, and the China has the most significant part. Even though it's usually designated as a leader in let's look at other countries. Poland and Portugal. Poland and Italy creates, or actually the Germany contributes with their emissions as much as Poland and Italy together. Just Germany decided that they will not use some green sources. Germany, Poland and Italy contribute 60% of all emissions in power industry. And when it comes to global to global picture, the EU contributes only 4% in the power industry, and BRICS contributes 64%. India and China, they cannot be caught up with in the coal use for power production, and it seems that it will remain like that for a long time. When it comes to buildings, then 55% of emissions are produced by 3 countries. Currently, it's Germany, Italy, and France. Italy and France, they contribute with the same share as Germany. Should we still talk about the common blame or common guilt in the European Union? It doesn't make sense to me. Looking at industrial emissions, 57% of all European Union emissions are created by France, Italy, Spain, and Germany. France, Italy, and Spain contribute with the same share as Germany alone. The Germany is great. They were always the first, and it seems that they will remain the first. And now let's look at Slovakia, since we are in Slovakia. Very simply, the graph that will repeat when it comes to color range. So the orange line is median range, and we are talking about all emissions created in Slovakia in tons. You can see that we are decreasing, and 2020 is less colored because we had the anomaly of COVID. Looking at the percentage of the emissions by buildings, we are tightly over 11%. The buildings. You know, I'm reading in media that the buildings are contributing 30% of emissions, and I'm always asking where, what, and which buildings. First of all, I started to look for the 35% or 30% of emissions. I've been looking for it for a long time, and the most remote source in history was from 2003. It was some source by OECD, and nobody ever checked it. But buildings in Slovakia, they contribute 11% of emissions, not 30%. Let's look at the power industry. So electricity and heating. You can see that we are decreasing. Slovakia exits the coal, and thanks to that, we are also meeting the goals. When you see the share of photovoltaics on the power industry, in 2010 we had 1.4%, in 2024 2.1%. It seems that photovoltaics didn't save the emissions. We saved 56% by power plants, but nuclear power plants that are also defined by the European Union taxonomy as the low emission sources. Looking at the next graph, we have electricity generation in Slovakia. Here you see the milestone from 2010 when we upgraded 2 sources in Mochovce, and then we also launched new source in Mochovce in 2023. So in the period from 2010 to 2024, we generated much more I think plus 7% of electricity, but we also decreased in emissions, and it wasn't thanks to photovoltaics. We need to talk openly. I'm not an enemy of photovoltaics, but let's call it let's call it with a true. Let's label it correctly. So I even use photovoltaics on my parents' family house, but we need to call things correctly or accurately. We have many blind believers in photovoltaics that believe that it will save us. It works well, where it's used in a good way on Tibetan plateau in China. Almost no rainfall, great wind, and ideal temperatures. It's even, which creates laboratory conditions for the generation of electricity. But we do not have such conditions. If you meet someone who tells you that CO2 is just food for plants, what are you talking about? Plants will save us. Okay, so I'll give you another example. We'll talk about how can we measure the performance of photosynthesis. And we have a beautiful demonstrating research published last year. And I will just give you a snippet. It shows one period from 2001 to 2010, and then the period from 2011 to 2020. Please look at blue and brown color so that you understand. When it comes to blue color, it defines the sensitivity of the vegetation to drought. And the brown, sorry, maybe it's golden. I'm just a male, but this defines, this speaks about vegetation becoming more sensitive to droughts and to heat waves. Alan spoke about it a while ago, so we need to look at where we live, which is Central Europe, and you can see that blue has disappeared and brown is expanding. We have problem with huge heat waves and droughts, and I'm not even talking about the humidity in atmosphere. And my colleague from Czechoslovakia will talk about it in a moment. We have a big problem because when you look at the data from Berkeley Institute that researches the heating of the planet, and you can see that in 2024 increased by 3.2 degrees compared to a median. We need to forget about the 1.5 degree. We need to talk about the reality. We talk about adaptation, our institute, because some things we cannot change. We only can maybe impact the direction we are heading for. We are creating documents and papers for education in the world, and to prove the state of affairs, we will talk about big projects in Brno tomorrow, and I just returned from the New Zealand, where we participated as the only institute among other countries of European Union, and we started a project at the New Zealand suffering from floods. This is a beautiful demonstration that at this territory we can see the green areas that serve during huge rainfalls, so that they avoid the houses. And this is also the challenge for insurance company, because insurance companies are not insuring the houses that are in the territory prone to flooding, and we already talk with insurance companies how to deal with these things, and these are our partners.
Welcome to our world. This is our green infrastructure, which we get so much benefit out of, not just well-being, but we get clean air, water. The environment is so friendly here.
And we'd like to say hello again, and it's good to be back at the conference, although we're not there in person. We've had Jan here in Auckland, and we're working on our new project, which is a year on and getting closer to a good
Closer
start.
and closer, and we are working very closely with municipality people here like Wayne Brown, our mayor, and other delegates through the council, and we are looking very, very promising to having something starting this year or next year with the help of Jan and the Research Institute of Vladislavia and you people in Slovakia and Czech Republic. Thank you all so very much.
So have a great conference.
Have a fabulous conference.
Who remembers these two guys from last year conference? These gentlemen are an example of when we have a good ideas, we can also put them in practice, and we are launching a great project of the climate adaptation of built-up areas, the New Zealand, and they are our partners, and we are already having the approval of the city of Auckland with over 2 million inhabitants, and while Bratislava is not communicating with us at all, so maybe just a message for Bratislava that the New Zealand, the Auckland accept us. And these two gentlemen, they created a beautiful start. We also cooperate with the Environmental Institute, the New Zealand, and I think that this will be a beautiful project that can then transfer the knowledge from the New Zealand to the European Union and Slovakia. That's all as usual. I consumed all the time. Pinjo, come, and I think that you can close this up. Yes, I'm closing this up with an applause. You said it very accurately that we are shooting our luck with the carbon neutral bullet. And even though the Germany is a top polluter, and there was a time when Dortmund and other agglomerations, they only closed the last coal mine in 2018. That's why I don't understand how they can still produce such a carbon footprint. And when you take their river, like how they are even producing this carbon footprint. In Slovakia, it's very simple. You just bring a champagne to someone and the coal mine is closed. It's the East Germany because there are many coal mines still. Thank you for your presentation. And obviously these two gentlemen from New Zealand, those who were here, you might remember that the jokes obviously are translated a little bit later, so people were laughing 5 seconds later. And now we are going to have a coffee break of 20 minutes. Please, exactly 20 minutes, and we are starting after the breaks with Mr. Diedeček.